Hey guys. I am just trying to figure out why, to me, the picture looks blurry. Is it blurry to the rest of you guys? Let me know. There's a little bit of a delay in the video feed, so I'm not sure. I did have a blast. Yes, I did have a blast. Oh, there, that's better. It's just me. You know, it's the first day back, so it's just me. So we're going to work on repainting another one of these ugly canvases today. I told you guys I'm not back from vacation yet. Still working on my morning coffee. All right. But first, I wanted to talk about this morning's recorded DecoArt video, which is the little concert bag. And I got the little bag at Hobby Lobby. It already had the gray pattern on it. Yeah, it's trying to focus. Okay. And I just thought that was okay, but it wasn't interesting enough for me. So I painted it, as you saw in today's video, if you've watched it. I did embellish it a little bit with the glass paint pens from DecoArt. Hey, Gwen. So I did add a few things to it after the video was done. So I just wanted to show you guys that. The video already got a thumbs down. I don't understand, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't care. But it's a cute little just basic bag that you definitely could use, you know, if you're going to a concert or a sporting event. You don't want to take your whole purse. You just want to take your ID, some money, and your cell phone. You know, I don't know about you guys. I don't want to drag my handbag around with me anywhere. Hey, Patty. Oh, yeah. No worries. So I created this little concert bag, and the video is up on YouTube today, and this works perfect for me. So just FYI, I did use the glass paint pens on here, and it's holding up just fine. Alaska was a blast. I know you guys are going to ask me about that. We're going to work on these inspiration photos today. So these were taken on the vacation. Just random pots of flowers everywhere. You go into Alaska. I don't know, any of you who've been there before may know this already. I certainly didn't, but it's so rainy there. It's a rainforest area, and there are just these giant flowers that you can't get to grow in California. We just don't have enough water, including these huge red poppies. And so I took this photo, and I think this was taken in, I took a number of poppy photos in Alaska, and I also took some at Bouchard Gardens in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. So I don't remember, this one might be from Bouchard Gardens, but I took plenty in Alaska too. So we're going to use this one for inspiration. I did alter it in Dynamic Auto Painter this morning, and I used the application called Benson. I don't know what artist Benson was. Someday I'm gonna have to research that. But anyway, I just gave the photo a painterly effect, and then I printed both the original and the painterly one this morning. So we're going to use these as inspiration. Before we get started, we're going to put on some Art Guard. For those of you who don't know, some of your art supply materials have nasty chemicals in them, and you probably should, if you end up getting your fingers involved, put on some kind of protective barrier like Art Guard, invisible glove. I am constantly forgetting. But it's right here in front of me, and I still forget. The Art Guard helps prevent it from absorbing through your skin, and it makes it easier to clean your hands, and it's non-greasy. So, all right. So we have this ugly canvas I did back in, when did I do this? 2013. It's not pretty. We're going to fix it. And we are first going to take a graphite pencil or crayon. This is a graphite crayon. This is the only, other than my brush, is the only non-DecoArt product we're going to use this morning, and this is by Lyra, and they make these graphite crayons, which I love. So We're going to use our photo as inspiration. We're not looking to copy it because that's what we have cameras for. My daughter's a photographer. If I want a proper copy, I will have her take a photo. But I'm going to map out some shapes with the crayon just to give myself a guide. That doesn't mean I'm going to stick to it. Y'all should know better than that. And I hope everybody had a great weekend. And if you are personal friends with me on Facebook, you may or may not know my daughter told us before we even got home, hey, Mom, Paulius, who's the boyfriend, and I are getting our own apartment. When? Next week. So she's moving out this weekend. So can you help? I guess so. Sure, of course we can. So I'm just sketching out my poppy shapes with my crayon. I think that's pretty good. You know what? She already kind of moved out temporarily once already, so I've already had the experience of going through empty nest syndrome. So this time I'm just like, I was just surprised at the short notice. That's all. I thought, okay. So as per usual, we're going to do our background first. I always tell you guys, do the background first. Then when you put the focal point in, you don't have to mess with the background. Hopefully. At least that's the plan anyway. So we're going to, is that one not even open? Might not be. So I have a mixture of DecoArt Traditions acrylic and Americana acrylic, all made by DecoArt. Yeah, that's not even open. So I got a variety of greens. I've got the Traditions in, what is this? Chrome green hue, yellow green light, and Americana in foliage green. I'm going to grab a little bit of brown. I know I put a brown out here somewhere. There we go, raw umber. Yeah, I know, right? I think my husband's sort of looking forward to me maybe not filling it up. I don't know how that's going to work out. Yeah, good thinking. That's a great idea. If they don't want to move, you move. I like that idea. I've got to go get her some things for her new place this week. I'm going to go do. I told her I'd go do it tomorrow. And of course, she's running around the house. Mom, can I have one of these? Mom, can I have one of these? And I'm like, since I have way too much stuff, yeah. Yes, you can. It's one way to do a purge. Have your kid move out and take some of your stuff with them. Okay. Do I want? I don't think I want any Paynes Grand this. So I'm going to start with the brown. I have an angle brush. Why? Just because it feels right. And just like with the other paintings we've done where we've covered up these ugly canvases, I'm not necessarily looking to completely cover up the background that's already on here. Probably mostly. If it works with the painting the way it is, I'll leave it. If it doesn't, we won't. And because I'm an expressive, almost abstract impressionist painter, I'm not, looking to, on either photo, copy the exact shape of the leaves necessarily, especially in the background. I just want to get the colors kind of mapped in. Now, depending on the paint you're using, if it's not very well pigmented, you might need to do a couple of coats. for certain colors, or use a base coat of white. I'm going to see if I can wrap this one flower around the side. I think that would be interesting. Don't forget to paint your edges, then you don't have to worry about framing your painting. And yes, I'm going to put a coat of the darkest color on here first. Acrylic painting is different than watercolor in that you can layer your colors on top of each other. So you can start with dark colors and then let it dry and then add a bunch of light colors on top. With watercolor, you can't really do that because they're all translucent. They don't necessarily layer well. With acrylic, you have a lot more freedom. Those of you who've never been to Alaska or Bouchard Gardens, I highly recommend it. Fabulous trip. If you're not somebody who, does lots of outdoorsy stuff or hiking, never fear. There's plenty of stuff for you to do up there. I don't do tons of heavy hiking anymore. I can't with my asthma. There's plenty of stuff to do. And Bouchard Gardens is just gorgeous if you have a chance to go there. It was funny, they were talking about how expensive it was to live in British Columbia. And my husband and I, for those of you who don't know, live in the San Francisco Bay Area. So other than the price of gas, it was pretty comparable, if not a little cheaper than living around here in California. It's pretty expensive where we live. Hey, Carson Cat's Life. Hey, how are you? We are painting some poppies this morning, inspired by some flowers I saw on my recent vacation, which was fabulous. And for those of you who don't know, my parents live in Washington State, very near where we left to go on our trip. And I begged and pleaded with them and my husband, please, before we leave Seattle, which is where we docked, can we go to Daniel Smith? Which they let me go to, and I am so happy. I met one of the executives in the parking lot. It was so cool. If you have a chance to go there, I recommend it. Most of the time when you go to these art supply stores that we all are familiar with because we shop on their websites, the store usually doesn't carry as much stuff as the website. So it's usually a little disappointing. I can honestly tell you that is not the case with the Daniel Smith store. They have way more stuff in stock in the store than you would ever think they would have from their website. That's not bad for the background. You'll notice with these DecoArt paints, one of the things I love about them, they dry really fast. I love that. I'm just dabbing on paint. I'm not doing a particular brush stroke. I'm not necessarily being super careful, treating anything too preciously. I am going to start to try and remember where the sun is coming from. Yeah, road trip, there you go. I do recommend the Daniel Smith store. I've been to a lot of the other ones that have websites, with the exception of the one I haven't been to yet, Jerry's Artorama, so I've got to go there yet. But I've been to a lot of the Dick Blick stores, and they're not the same as their website. Their website has way more stuff than their stores do. Okay, so one of the things I want to do is make sure we have some suggestion of sunlight on here before we move to our flowers. Oh, see, but in the UK, you have Jackson's. I like Jackson's Art Supply. I don't know what their store is like, but I like their website. Okay, we're going to switch to a filbert. And I'm going to grab some reds. This is Alizarin Crimson. And that was Americana. Try to keep them straight here. This is Naphthol Red, which is a DecoArt Traditions. You don't have to spend tons of money on fancy paint. Look it up now because it is really fabulous. I'm going to start with the lighter red, the Naphthol red. Is that what it is? Yeah. I already forgot. I just opened it. Okay. And I'm going to just map in my flowers loosely. You notice I'm leaving little bits of blue show through. I like the way that looks. At least for right now, I'm happy with the way that looks. So we might leave that. This is the one I said I wanted to wrap around the side. So I did get seasick while I was gone. We had a day where we hit a storm and there were 15 to 20 foot swells. And let's just say that I wasn't the only one on the ship that got sick. Not by any stretch. I want to take one of my little tiny brushes and that same red, still with the Naphthol red, and I think I want to just like that. Put 3 little dots here. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you guys can get a better look at that. You know, I'm just playing. I get that a lot. I'm just playing. I've never taken a formal painting class ever in person. I've only taken online classes like the rest of you. Not even for watercolors. I'm just playing. So I'm taking the darker of the 2 reds and I'm going to use it as my shadow color and using my photos as inspiration where the darker parts of the petals are. I'm going to just tap in this color. Remember, we're being expressive and we're not looking to copy it exactly. We're just suggesting the poppy shape by putting the right color in the right place. And I'm going to kind of fake it on the side. Okay. Let's do this one up here. And remember what I said, acrylic paint's all about layers. It really is. So while this looks interesting, it's by no stretch done. And because this red is kind of sheer, it's going to take a couple of layers, a couple of coats to get things looking the way we want. I don't have a rag. Oh, okay. See, I cleaned everything up before I left. Okay, we're going to let that dry a little bit. Let's work on some of our greens. I'm going to switch to a smaller filbert. This is one of the new ones I bought. This is before I left. This is by Princeton. It's a Princeton Snap. They're one of their affordable brush lines. I'm really liking them for acrylic painting. More coffee. Okay, let's work on some of our greens. I'm going to start with a light green, the lightest green, which is the foliage green. I'm barely touching the brush to the canvas. It's okay if the line's not even. It's okay if it's bumpy. This is nature. Nature's not even and straight. And you'll suggest a better picture if you don't even try to get it even and straight. I did shoot some video while we were gone, so I'm going to try to edit it into something that is interesting and makes sense for you all. Okay, let's suggest a few leaves. Just play and experiment and just try. You don't know what you can do until you try. Now I'm just twisting and turning my filbert brush, and I'm tapping it to the canvas. I'm barely touching it. I'm letting the brush, the shape of the brush, help me suggest the leaves. It's similar to how I do pine trees. Let me get some scrap of paper. Let's see. Okay, it's similar to how I do a pine tree. So first I take the tip of the brush and you just paint a line. Exactly. All right, and then I take my filbert brush, and the filbert brush is rounded on the end, right? So you take it kind of, I guess, at a 30-degree, 45-degree angle to the paper and just tap. You get these interesting half round marks. And if you're doing a pine tree and you do it with a few different colors and purposefully try not to go over the same place you went the first time, maybe give it a little bit of a twist as you get up to the top. Right? Come back with your light color. Either start dark and work light and then come back and add the dark, or start light and go to dark and come back and add the light. Either way, use 2 or 3 colors. And if you don't want it to be Christmas tree-ish, then try not to have it be symmetrical, because remember what I said about nature not being even. Right? And then you can go in at the end with a little bit of your warm colors that suggests warmth and sunlight. Normally I use yellow for that. There's a piece of my hair stuck in the paint. Lovely. All right. And I just tap in a little bit of the yellow. And you get a pine tree. Now, depending on how close together you do these marks and which direction you do them, you can get this interesting leaf shape too by doing basically the same stroke, or a pine tree. Okay, let's do one more leaf. Let's see, where do I want it? Looking at the photo. How about so you see, I'm just basically, I just have my strokes a lot closer together than I do for the pine tree. Oh, I did. I had a wonderful vacation. It is funny and kind of ironic that the day we both got seasick was our anniversary. We were both so sick. So this is the medium green. Yeah, thankfully we both started to feel better just in time enough to go to our dinner reservations, which was great. But yeah, you know, we would hit a storm with huge swells on our anniversary. But I did discover that there's a benefit to menopause. My motion sickness is not nearly as bad as it used to be when I was younger. And the only thing for me that's changed is menopause. So yay! So we're just layering on our greens. I almost dumped my coffee in the my brush in my coffee. You know, if some of it wasn't fabulous, but I don't miss having a monthly, and I'm glad that my motion sickness is better. I still have hot flashes. I could live without that. Okay, we're going to go into the darkest color now. Which is a color that we've already used in our background. See, this is why I put the art guard on. It doesn't take me long to get my fingers involved. I am not a neat painter. It's so much fun to sit and paint in the mornings or lunchtime with you guys, and instead of like I'm usually by myself, so it's like having friends over for a painting party. My mom says that, and I shouldn't probably tell you guys this because it'll upset you. She says the hot flashes never really go away. They get milder, but they don't really ever go away. I said, oh, fabulous. That wasn't what I really wanted to hear. I'm going to take this brush, and I just can't help myself. We're going to put some aquamarine in here because, you know, it's aquamarine, people. Now you notice in the picture there's some pink flowers in the background. I don't think I want to put them on there. I'm going to choose to just pretend they're not there. I'm glad you find the painting party fun. Yeah, no, menopause is not fun. Not necessarily. So this is aquamarine. Yeah, aquamarine. And normally I would tell you all this color, because it's a blue, is, you know, a cooler color. But when you compare it to the greens in the background, it's warm. So it's going to help me suggest sunlight and make the background interesting, less flat. You know, yeah. You know, every time I go to the doctor now, I know it's just a standard question for them, but you know, when you're over 50, they ask you, when was your last period? For most of us, I can't remember when the last one was. Could you be pregnant? Well, I really hope not at my age. It's the last thing I would want to have happen. Don't forget your edges. And they don't like when they ask me that question and I go, I don't remember. They really don't like that. But that's the truth. I don't remember. It was a long time ago, not to mention the fact I have anxiety disorder. I don't remember. Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, they're better for me since I'm doing the same thing. I didn't go to the gym this morning, but there's just kind of a lot to do. I'm going to go tomorrow, though. I need to after the cruise. Holy cow. So I'm just working a little more in the background and letting the base coat on the flowers dry. Yeah, everybody's different. Some people have a hard time with the cold and they don't get hot. That's never been the case for me. Okay. Let's switch back to a filbert. Yeah, I go to the gym 3 to 5 days a week. It does really help a lot. I really didn't change the way I ate at all, but normally, unless I'm on vacation, I'm pretty good about what I eat. But just, most of us were artists, and, that means we sit on our butts most of the day. So we don't get lots of exercise. And that's usually the problem, is you just need to move more. I joined Gold's, which is, a big nationwide brand. And I don't think there's going to be any chance of them closing. But if they did close like the local one, I could go to a different one. So I'm dabbing on some more red, adding this lighter red in the lighter parts of the poppy. Right? I lost my little dots over here. Okay, so you got to tell us which one you join so that we don't join that one, since you're the angel of death with gyms. Yeah, Beck. That's pretty funny. So this is the darker one. Now, right now, I know you're thinking probably that that's interesting, but it's a little flat. Wait a minute. Give me a second. I'm going to make it pop in a minute. And again, we're letting the stems dry a little bit. We need our Paynes gray. I often choose Paynes gray as my dark. Y'all know that. It's more interesting than just flat black. And I often don't choose white for my light. I use a light yellow or a neon. I'm not sure yet what we're going to do here. I've got a couple choices. Trying to keep all my paint straight. I will add the paint colors to the video description after we're done with the broadcast. Okay, so these are poppies, right? So they have dark centers. So dabbing and smearing. And I'm going to add a little bit of this dark color into the background to give us some dark shadows. I'm going to blend it in a little bit with my finger so it's not quite as dark as on the flower centers. Now with acrylic paint, thank you. With acrylic paint, if you catch it before it's completely dry, you can wipe it off with a baby wipe, FYI. Now, even with our flower centers, I'm going to add another color to make them less flat and more interesting. And I'm going to use the brown that we have. What brown is this? Raw umber. Thank you. Painting is my first love. I like mixed media and collage, but I love painting. Whether I'm doing it in acrylic or watercolor, painting is my first love. In case you didn't already know that, you know, hello. I do think I'm going to make some pink. So I'm going to take some white and a little bit of the alizarin crimson. Yeah, I like the aquamarine in there a lot. Okay, so I'm going to go using, again, my pictures as my guide. Let's see. I'm just dabbing. I'm lifting and barely between sticking it in there and barely touching the brush to the background to get an interesting mark. And you can go in here and you can just wipe some of it with your finger to make it just more interesting. Just make sure that you wipe it towards the flower and not towards your background. And then you can come in with some of the red. Like right here, I think that's a little too much pink. And it's going to mix with the pink. The pink's wet, but I'm okay with that. These little paintings are great practice because they don't take long. I'll see you later, Gwen. Okay, let's do this one up here. So the dark darks and the light lights are what makes your paintings really start to pop, no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing something abstract, like Patty Parrish's abstracts, which I love, by the way, and they never quite turn out the same when I do them as when she does them. That's okay. I'm not her. So I'm just adjusting my colors. I do think right here we need to do this. Oops. I just stuck my hand in something. Of course I did. I think we need to do this. So I have some of the Paynes gray. I'm barely touching the flower center. Barely, barely, barely. And that worked. That I like. I have the same trouble with abstracts. I can do them. This particular style is more natural to me to do, and I can do it without struggling too much, I think. There's always one part of every painting that I struggle with getting correct and looking the way I want. I think here it's this flower up here. That's better. I love this kind of painting. This is my favorite. Kind of impressionistic and expressive. Not perfect. I struggled for a long time to do other kinds of paintings that I thought I should be doing, and it's just not me. This is me. Okay, where's our little brush? There it is. So I'm going to take our little small red dots, just because a painting is more balanced if you have objects or colors in groups of 3. Whether you're doing this kind of painting or an abstract painting, think of doing things in groups of 3. It looks more balanced. So because of that, I want to do some work down here too. Okay, I am not just totally not into doing anything realistic. My daughter's a photographer. If I want that, I'll just have her take a picture. My husband, on the other hand, has talked about getting into art more recently. He actually, when he was younger, did a lot of drawing. He wanted to be an architect. And I could very well see him doing that, but he would be a realist painter. He wouldn't do anything like what I do by any stretch. Okay, so we're going to take, now we need to work on our stems and leaves. I love the way our flowers look. I want to first use my palette knife, and I'm going to take some of my Paynes gray, I think, and we're going to mix it with some of this green. Let's see what we get. So I'm using the flat part and the edge of the palette knife to help me with some more shapes. Yeah, that's good. I like that. We'll wipe this off. Let's go back to our small filbert. And we're going to mix up an even lighter green by putting some yellow over here. I got a little bit of red in there, but that's okay. And Just dabbing the paint on. Don't feel like you have to dig any holes to China. You know, you get a different mark with your brush if you just touch it lightly than if you do this. But that might be what you want sometimes. Like you could do an interesting flower with a filbert brush by using the shape of the brush and pushing it down hard into your paper, and, you know, give yourself an interesting 5-petal flower. So practice with, you know, letting your brush do the work. Now, normally between layers, I let things dry unless we're doing one of these broadcasts. I usually try to let things dry in between. Well, sometimes. I'm not, you know, my middle name is neither Grace, Patience, or Grace. So sometimes I'm just impatient, but just like what you've done with the rest of the flower part, keep working your colors till you get something that you like. Okay, let's see if we can get some of that green off of there. It's a little gray for me. I think it's too gray. So let's go back in with some of this color green. What is this? This is the yellow green light. All right, still not exactly right. Let's keep working on it, shall we? I mixed some of the Paynes gray in with the darkest green that we had, which was the phthalo green. Chrome green, sorry. Here goes my clock. Now, just because your flower painting or whatever you're using for inspiration is a particular color doesn't mean you have to do your painting in that color, in all or in part. And you can print it in black and white, and then that takes the distraction away of the original colors, and that'll help you not be distracted by and be able to create the painting in other colors. Let's see. We're going to do something fun here. I think it's going to be fun. This is the aquamarine color. And this is just a small round brush. I'm just tapping it in. I'm not even making all my brush strokes even. I'm just putting dabs of, literally just little tiny dabs of color. That's much better. I like that already a lot better. I do have this Hansa yellow. Don't limit yourself to how many colors either. If you end up using 50 colors in a painting, so be it. Don't listen to other people. Unless, of course, you're doing an experiment where you're trying to do a painting with, you know, just like 2 colors. That's a different story. So I'm going to use this yellow because it's very light and bright. Very warm. Same thing I just did, but I'm not trying to cover up any of the other colors. I'm just accenting the parts that I want to be lighter and brighter and in the sun, that are maybe getting hit by the sun this way. Now the aquamarine was much warmer than some of the other greens on here, but this yellow is the warmest color. So it'll suggest the most sunlight. And again, I'm just dabbing on colors, just little dabs, little dots. I'm not trying to paint a straight line or anything. One thing, I've had way too much coffee for that. That's just not going to happen. So this little bulb of a flower is round, right? So the part of it getting hit by the sun would be bright, but also the part closest to the viewer would be. So that's why I put that little dab right there. I like that. That's a cute painting. I used a lot of colors, but that's a cute painting. I think it's done. What do you all think? So of course, as per usual, we don't waste the leftover paint, right? We don't ever do that. Sometimes I put it on paper, sometimes I put it on another canvas, and I happen to have, I'll set this aside for just a minute. This canvas, which has been in my closet for a while, that won't even like fit on camera completely. Let me zoom out. Maybe it will. No, it won't. Let's see, wait a minute. Let me put some of these 2 away. Let's move these. So this is a big canvas. I don't even know what size it is. It's huge. Well, it's not huge, but it's pretty big. It's been in my closet. As you can see, it's not the first time I've done painting layers on it. So this is another reason to make sure you put art guard on if you're gonna do something like this. And just dab your leftover paint on the canvas, and it gives you an interesting starting point. It doesn't have to be pretty. It can end up being ugly, like the one we just did. It's just a starting point, and it gets you away from, you know, white canvas or white page syndrome. Sometimes you accidentally end up with interesting shapes that you don't expect. This one has to be turned into something soon because it's got a lot of paint on it now already. There we go. I have no room in my office. Just have some fun with your paint and play. So at some point we'll be doing this one on Monday with DecoArt. Does anybody have any questions? Now that my hands are all goopy. So here's the one that we did. The inspiration photos, at least the one photo, not the altered one, this one, is available this morning on the inspiration photos page of my website. You can download it for free and play with it. Use it in your collage work, do a painting from it. It's free for you guys to use. I got asked recently what I take my inspiration photos with. My iPhone. It's always been my iPhone. It's been my iPhone since I first got an iPhone when I had iPhone 4. I do think this is done. I'm going to let it dry completely, and I'll be covering it with DecoPage, probably in antique. And I'll let that dry completely, and then I'll put a layer of DecoArts cream wax, Americana Decor cream wax over the DecoPage. The DecoPage can dry and like stay a little bit sticky, a little tacky. This takes that all out and gives it an extra layer of protection. And both the DecoPage and the wax will protect the paint from fading, chipping, cracking, all of that stuff. And I finished all the paintings that way. And yet again, I did this one with the intention of maybe selling it. I think I'm going to have to keep it. It's just so bad. I do think I'm going to scan it, though, and put it up on my website this week. So if you want a copy of it, it'll be up there. All right. Any more questions? I think I got almost all the paint off my hands. Ugh. So I leave it to dry a couple of hours, if not overnight. I really want all of the acrylic paint to be completely dry before I go at it with the DecoPage. And I happen to have the DecoPage matte out because I need to do I did a painting for my daughter quite a while ago, and we never put sealer on it. And because it's not in the sun or anything, well, she didn't want me to. But anyway, now she's moving and she's not sure where it's going to end up. She wants me to seal it. So she wants me to seal it with matte. She doesn't want it shiny at all. So I'm going to do the DecoPage matte on that painting, and then I'll put some cream wax on it. Normally I do the antique, which gives it a slight amber, a little bit of an amber tint. Let's see. This is the antique. And it's a little bit of a satin finish. It's not matte. But I put this on, let it dry overnight. Oh, I'm sorry. I let this dry a couple hours, if not overnight. Put this on. Let this dry a couple hours. Put this on. Let the whole thing dry overnight, then you can hang it on the wall. And you could use other kinds of wax, but the Americana Decor cream wax is easy to get. It's inexpensive and easy to use. And it dries hard. It doesn't reactivate because it's not, I love Daddy Vans. It's great in my journals, but for this kind of application, you don't want it to reactivate. And the Daddy Vans is a beeswax, and if it got too warm, it could reactivate. Any other questions? I did, as I said, go to Daniel Smith when I was in Seattle, and I will be sharing that in a different video. I did some other shopping. We will, most of it's watercolor, and it's not DecoArt, so we will be sharing that in probably Watercolor Wednesday. All right, I added a bunch of photos to the inspiration page this morning on that website. I also added a bunch of photos in the Facebook group, in the shared inspiration album. I also put almost every single photo I took on my personal Facebook page. So the photos are accessible anywhere. If you guys want to, you know, download one and use it to create some artwork with, you're welcome to do that. Hello, Lisa. But practice using your brushes to make interesting brush strokes and let them help you create interesting marks on your paintings. I love the way this one turned out. It is going to be, we're going to try doing this on Watercolor Wednesday, the same image. We've been doing these images a couple different ways, so I think we're going to do this again. Yeah, what I can tell you is Alaska is a beautiful place. There is a lot of inspiration there, but inspiration is everywhere. Some of the shots that I took were pots of flowers outside of little shops. So next time you're out at the store, even if it's the grocery store, take your smartphone out, shoot some pictures of the floral department, the flowers in the floral department, the pots outside the shop, the flower pots at the mall, the interesting texture in the wall of the store, things like that. Inspiration is everywhere. The best shots I took were just of ordinary things that happened to be there where I was. Yes, of course, I got the, you know, pictures of glaciers and things like that too, which you can't get if you're not up there. But, you know, lots of places have gorgeous flowers. So, all right, that's it for this morning, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will be back on Wednesday for Watercolor Wednesday. We will be back, of course, next Monday for more Monday with DecoArt. I already have put the link for DecoArt in the video description. I will be updating the colors and paint types as soon as the video is done loading. See, it's right outside your front door. You don't have to go far. Paint what you see around you. If you want to support my YouTube channel, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. There is all kinds of links in the description, including to my Etsy shop. If you want to, you can go to the support button on my YouTube channel's main page. There's a bunch of ways you can do that. You can join the Facebook group. That's free. We have weekly prompts, all kinds of photos, you know, all of that stuff. All right, I will see you all next week, and have fun painting and playing. I'd love to see what you paint and share. I would love that. That would be great. All right, see you all later. Don't forget the most important thing. You know what that is, right? Have a great day. Do something nice for yourself because you deserve it. Yes, they do. I like the antique, but they do make one that's clear. I like the antique, and it dries. It has hardly any color in it, just FYI. But they do make it, it's clear. And you could use other products. I really like DecoPage. That's it, Regina, you got it. All right. See you guys later. No, I would always seal it with something. Seal it with a varnish or DecoPage, something that dries clear, because that's going to give you the most protective layer. The wax is just to make sure that, especially if you're shipping it or gifting it to a friend, maybe you're wrapping it in paper, the wax will prevent things from sticking to this. Lots of clear coats, whether you're talking about a varnish or a decoupage product, they can be a little sticky and things can get stuck to them, whether it's dust, lint, hair, paper. So you should put a layer of wax on there because that's going to prevent things from sticking to this. And it's also, the wax is a little bit extra protection, but you want to wax it dries clear and hard and doesn't reactivate. So you want to use a cream wax or an artist wax. I like the cream wax. There are other brands that are more expensive and way more toxic and stinky. Does that answer your question? Hopefully. At some point, I should probably save a couple of these up and we should actually do the coating on camera. But, you know, the paint should have a protective layer of something on it, especially if you're using, you know, different kinds of paint, craft paint, art paint, even fine artist paints. You know, over time with age, they can crack and they can flake and peel off. And you really want to protect them from the elements, from fading, from the cracking. So you want to cover them with a clear coat of something, whether you're using a DecoPage or a varnish, but then always finish that with a coating of wax, especially if you're using a decoupage product to cover your painting with. I hope that answered your question. All right, guys, I will see you later. I have laundry to do, tons and tons of laundry. And a big giant painting to varnish. All right, I will talk to you later. Have a great week. If I don't see you on Wednesday, I will see you next Monday, Monday with DecoArt at noon. All right, bye, guys. Oh, wait, we're not done yet. Fabric question. Okay, Lisa, shoot. I'll put my brushes away while you're typing your question, Lisa. Those of you who don't know, one of my many former professions, I was a seamstress. FYI. Do you know where I can find antique quilting fabric? eBay is the best place for that. You can buy lots of antique quilting fabric, sometimes pre-cut squares on eBay. Probably these days Etsy too. It's been a while since I bought things like that. But I would go to eBay or Etsy first. It's hit or miss at the antique stores. And a lot of antique dealers, you know, it depends on the dealer. Some of them just throw that kind of stuff away. So I would definitely try eBay or Etsy. In the past, when I've wanted pieces of old quilts or old fabric for a project, I have always gone to eBay or Etsy. Yeah, I would go to eBay or Etsy for that, Lisa, or I would pick an antique reproduction new fabric to pair up with her old fabric. There are a lot of reproductions of antique patterns these days. If you go to a local quilt shop, they can help you pick out ones that will work with the antique fabrics that she picked. And a lot of times these days in the antique shops, they have these giant quilting machines and they'll actually put all the layers together for you and they'll do the quilting for you. And then all you have to do is do the edging. FYI. It does cost a fee, but when you have a project like that, that's special. And we're going to do more sewing videos. I've got some coming up that are on the playlist. Yeah, so you can get flour sacks, antique flour sacks, lots on Etsy and probably eBay. So I would look there first. and bid on 1 or 2 lots and see how far that gets you, and then go back and bid on 1 or 2 more lots until you get the quilt finished. All right, that's it for today, guys. Have some fun, do some painting, do some crafting, do some creating, do something that makes you happy, whatever it is. Life's too short not to. All right, I'll see you all later. I really gotta go now. Okay, bye, guys.